welcome to episode 22, Her Finance Talk. My name is Sue Diamond and I'm your host. And our goal is to help women create a better relationship with their money so you can live your best life. So thanks for joining us today and investing in your financial well-being. Her Finance Talk is brought to you by the Her Finance Club. And our mission is to socialize that it's okay for women to talk about money because knowledge is power. And when that knowledge helps you become more independent, it translates to empowerment. Women empowering women is a mantra that we love to live by, and one that has helped inspire women for decades. Where would we be without each other? So today we are talking about the truth about cleansing the mind and body for better mental health, because it's May, and that means it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So this year's theme is back to basics. And after the last 2 years of pandemic living, many people are starting to realize that stress, isolation, and uncertainty have taken a toll on their well-being. So I would like to introduce and welcome my guest today. Our guest is Dr. Karina Monegro. Now, you've got to tell me I'm pronouncing that correctly, right? Okay. Okay. And Dr. Monegro is a medical intuitive. She's also a licensed chiropractor, energy healer, and nutritionist. Boy, those are a lot of hats. She provides a unique holistic approach to healing the mind, body, heart, and soul by blending her unique gifts as an emotional and intuitive empath with gentle, non-cracking chiropractic techniques, such as the myofascial release. So you're going to have to explain all this to us, Karina. And so Karina is also a clairvoyance, a clairaudience, and a clairsentient. So I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly as well, and uses her abilities to help you get to the underlying cause of your emotional and physical imbalances that, are manifesting in your body. So her unique gifts and tools have helped many young adults, pregnant women, seniors with all kinds of health issues, and especially those who suffer from chronic pain, unexplained pain, and symptoms, anxiety and depression, and other illnesses that seem unsolvable. So, and I think you'd also shared with me that you have also facilitated communication with mom and her fetus and spirit babies. So this is so interesting for me, and I'm sure for our listeners as well. So, I mean, clearly that intro doesn't do you justice. So I would love for you to just, open up the conversation by asking you to expand on your story. Where are you from and what drew you into the medical field? And then, the holistic approach is fairly new, right? Today, in terms of looking at all aspects. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. So like Sue mentioned, my name is Dr. Karina. I am a medical intuitive as well as a holistic chiropractor, nutritionist, energy healer. I'm also a heart math intervention practitioner. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. So when my mom was pregnant with me, she had no idea she was pregnant. She said she had, and I asked her these questions because I wanted to learn more of why I have always felt different, why I've always experienced things that nobody in my family have experienced. So she told me she had a dream where these three lady, she said they look like they belong to the spiritual world. So my parents are from the Dominican Republic. I was born here. So by that, she meant that they were dressed in white. And she said, they look like they could have been your aunt. Like they look, similar to us. And they told her, you are pregnant with a girl and she is part of our world, take care of her. She did not know, she didn't believe that she was pregnant because she wasn't trying. She kind of just ignored it. And she said she kept having like dreams that she was pregnant. So 2 weeks passed and she took a pregnancy test and turns out she was pregnant. So after that, she didn't know really what that meant, like spiritual world, like what does this mean? Anyways, at the age of 6, my grandfather had passed away. I met him as an infant, so I had no memory of him. So I just kept telling my mom, my parents, that I kept seeing this man. He would just smile at me. He was darker than me. He had a hat. I described exactly what he would wear when he was alive. And I would say like, look, like he's there. And she would be like, there's nobody there. But anyways, one day she took out pictures and she was like, do you see anybody that looks like that? And I'm like, yes, this is him. Anyways, it turned out to be my grandfather. So after that, I think she kind of was like, okay, I think I am getting what they meant by she's spiritual. And then
Right.
after that, right, like when we are at that age where our imagination is still open, right, we have no fear of basically anything. And I kept expressing, things that I would, see and hear. So fast forward, I was 11 years old when this happened. I had a dream where the easiest way to describe it is almost like a angel looking person, glowy person came to me in a dream and said, it's time for you to know your gift. And I'm like, first of all, my mom told me not to talk to stranger. Like, who are you? And I'm just like, okay, this is odd. And he said a lot of things, but I don't remember them. I just know that he put his hands up like how I have them, and his hands were sort of like on fire. And I just remember saying like, okay, this is the time where I need to like run, like wake up out of this dream. So he said, I do remember him saying like, I'm a healer, like there's like this is generational. And he said, put your arms like this. And he literally transferred his fire to mine. And I remember seeing them kind of like, like inflame, I guess. And I was trying to shake them off and I couldn't. And I woke up and I just remember feeling this heat that I couldn't explain.
Right.
And then I remember kind of playing, because as a child, I was very curious. So I remember playing with this heat transferring to different objects. And I didn't mention it to anyone because my parents, I thought they would have think, I'm like crazy, whatever. So fast forward, so that was kind of suppressed, I should say, after a certain age. So fast forward, I'm in chiropractic school. I decided to become a chiropractor because when I was in college, I knew I was interested in helping people. Like I've always had that clear, I guess, knowledge that I was here to, do something big, that I love helping people, but I didn't know what that was. So I shadowed different doctors when I was in college. So when I shadowed a chiropractor, I love the fact that, they work with their hands and that people left feeling a lot better. And I love that. So when I was in chiropractic school and we started working on each other, I noticed that heat started coming back again. And I noticed, so I've always been sensitive to other people's energy and emotions, right, as an emotional empath. How I've never experienced like me actually touching someone and kind of, I would say, through a journey, basically. It was when I was in chiropractic school. I didn't know what this was. I didn't know the name of it. I just remember, this is interesting. I was working, this is student clinic. I was treating a patient that seemed very open to energy, and I'm going to say spiritual. And he said, he took my hands off of him and said, there's a heat that's coming off of your hand. And he said, are you aware of that? And I said, no, because I was afraid. It was almost like, oh my God, people are going to know, like,
Right.
I don't know what, like, it wasn't like I was trained or, what to do with it. So he was like, has anybody told you that you're a healer? And in my head, I'm like, I'm saying no, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, but, um, so he was like, it's a good thing. Like, he noticed that I was getting kind of scared, and he was like, it's a good thing. Just keep practicing. And he said, you're more than welcome to feel safe doing it with me, basically. So anyways, when I graduated, I kept noticing even more, mainly because when I would work with people who, this is me, working outside of school, people that were sensitive to energy, they kept telling me the same thing. I feel a heat, off your hand. So fast forward to maybe a few years ago, I started just looking into this because I didn't know the name of this. I didn't know, who, yes, I can do all these things, but what are they called? So medical intuition just kind of like, I don't know, it appeared in a Google search. And when I read it, I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing. As well as, the clairvoyance. So it was just so interesting how being in chiropractic school, working with my hands, kind of led me or showed me or revealed to me, my purpose, right? And how
Right.
to use my intuitive skills, my unique abilities to help other people. And I think it wasn't until I started working in an office, this was maybe, again, a few years ago, where I felt safe doing it with, or exploring it more, because they were also very intuitive, very into energy, also empath. And interesting enough, the people that were coming to me were aligned with this type of work that I'm doing, even though I wasn't being advertised as a medical intuitive or anything that has to do with energy. It was mainly, a chiropractor. So I kept getting more comfortable with it, and kind of believing and trusting in this gift.
Right.
Yeah, so now I'm just like, I guess I have, flourished, and I'm very grateful that I early on kind of had those gifts, and that kind of like message to keep exploring it more.
Right.
And really, believing in myself, and trusting, even at the moment I didn't believe it. It was more trusting what other people kept saying, because more than one person kept saying it.
Right. Right. And it's tough, isn't it? Because we do live in a culture, that, if you start to say, like you said, my hands were on fire, and then people, oh, what's she taking? Or, but that you had the confidence, and that you came into contact with other people that were able to kind of reinforce, your skills. Well, I should say your healing and that. So,
and yeah, and so it's, so for me, so okay, so myofascial work, it's something that all chiropractors are taught, because every time that somebody comes to me, they're like, I don't know anybody that does the work that you do. Were you taught this in school? And I'm like, yes. Myofascial release is something that even massage therapists are taught. It's just, I guess a lot of people don't use it as a method to release trapped emotions and energy, or even just as a method of healing. I think also, when we are in chiropractic school, we are given, a lot of people don't know this, we're giving human cadaver. So the fascia, it's sort of discarded, because it's just, we kind of break it to get to where we really want to go. So nobody really pays attention to the fascia. Chiropractors are giving a little bit more information as to what the fascia is, and different tools that we can use to work with the fascia. But in general, I think people aren't aware as to what the fascia is, and how myofascial release can help with mental health, with mind-body connection, right? Mind, body, soul, heart, and connection, what I work with. And so I'll explain a little bit what myofascial
okay.
is.
Right.
And medical intuition, because I know a lot of people might not know what a medical intuitive is.
Right. I think that's really important, because I think, what we want to emphasize here today, right, also is, health isn't merely the absence of disease, right? It's a state of well-being in which the mind, body, and spirit are balanced. So it's, really important, because that ties back to when we're experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety. Our health is compromised with all these aspects taking a toll. So I think, yes, please, because I know a little bit about this, but not, a lot. So I'm really interested to hear more about the techniques that you're utilizing from, a holistic approach that people can hear about and start looking, because it really is important. It's the whole thing, right?
Yeah. So a medical intuitive is just the name given to someone, right, that uses their intuitive skill. And now this can be anyone. You don't have to have a medical background. It's just called medical intuition. I'm not sure why medical intuition. So it's a name given to someone, a practitioner that uses their intuitive skills to get to someone's root cause, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, energetic, spiritually, right? So what was I gonna say? Okay, so now the fascia is a thin layer of connective tissue that's around our entire body. It wraps our muscle, our joints, our organs. It's for people that cook. This is the analogy that I use. So it's the white, thin, slimy layer of like the chicken that most people kind of like take off. That's the fascia.
Okay.
Or the way to look at it is if you were to slice an orange in half, the white part, that's the fascia, and also is the pulp. So, like I said, a lot of people just, they disregard that, they throw that out. Similar to like the fascia, nobody really is attention to the fascia. So I'll backtrack. So in order for the reason how I'm able to feel those emotion and energy, it's because when we go through an experience that we perceive it as traumatic, the higher of an emotional reaction we have to that, the more that emotion clings to us and it gets trapped or cling in the fascia.
Okay.
The muscle or any other part of your body. So let's say if just pretend that I have stickers. So let's say, for example, that went through different experiences and I have here, shame, guilt, abandonment, right? Those imprints get stuck in the fascia, and that's how I'm able to know what emotions and energy are there. But also the reason why this type of work is important is because when we have all those imprints, and those imprints come from those emotions, shame, guilt, right, abandonment, that creates a energy signature that is authentic to you. So therefore, we're resonating at that specific energy signature that is authentic to us. So we're going to attract and pull to us what is also resonating at that frequency, right? Because we don't attract what we want, it's who we are.
Right.
So a lot of people also mention to me, like I've done everything, but somehow I keep attracting X, Y, and Z. But it's because it hasn't been released from our body. So you're going to keep resonating at that frequency. So once you're able to release it, or even just move it from, let's say, the lower chakras to, which has to do with survival, to our higher chakra, that creates now a different an energy signature. So now you're resonating at a different frequency. So now you can start attracting different, more positive things, but also you're clearing out, you're by removing that, you're making more space for more opportunities for more positive things to come in, right? Like if you have all these imprints, they're taking space. So,
Right.
which also, the reason why this is so important is because a lot of people that suffer from anxiety, panic attacks, depression, right? It's hard for them to get in touch with their heart or to feel joy, but because it's all those negative, right, emotions are taking so much space that you can't, it will be challenging for you to feel joy.
Right. You know, it's interesting because I think, well, we did speak about this because I look from the money perspective. You know, I always talk about, well, the foundation for being successful is you have to look inside yourself first before you start looking for external solutions. But it wasn't until I had spoken to you. I mean, I talk about the emotions that are tied to, you know, your money story and how we have to go back and look at that. And, you know, that's the path to changing mindset and beliefs. And as you say, you attract what you think, right? But never really thought about it. So this is so interesting that, you know, you know, it impacts us physically at the time, but those imprints can still be there even as you try to change your mindset. And it's just so interesting how connected the mind and the body is, right?
And what's even also like, I mean, I'm always like having aha moments or surprise is a lot of the stuff that I feel in someone's body, it is part of them, but it's also we're carrying stuff that it's not even ours. It belongs to our parents, past life, and, you know, and generations, which is, it's so interesting to me how, you know, a lot of our stuff isn't even ours. Like we're walking around with all this weight. And what's also interesting is that people have expressed this in my sessions a lot. Like I feel lighter. This is what they say. I feel like a weight has been lifted. I feel more at peace. I mean, when you think about it, if you have all this stuff, yours, your parents' stuff, you know, generation past life, I can see how challenging it could be, you know, to move through life, expecting, right, a different result, and you're like, well, what am I doing wrong? Like I keep working on myself, but it hasn't been released from the body.
Right. And I think, you know, when we think about, you know, life is so busy, right? And it's faster than ever, whether it be with school mums dealing with their kids, you know, every time there was an issue with COVID, having to homeschool or social lives, technology is so demanding and so much time and I don't know, just causing unwanted stress. It's like for me, I like to reference all the time, health is our greatest wealth. And I say this because we do take our health for granted a lot of times, right? Which impacts our wealth and our ability to live a rich life. But I know for women, you know, and I think about just from the financial side, money is a number one source of stress according to the APA. But then we have everything else happening. So what can we do? What do our listeners need to do to take care of, you know, removing these imprints?
Yeah, so I think it's important to have both, right? Mind work and body work. So
Right.
excuse me. So for examples of mind work, right? Hypnotherapy, right? Because they're working with your subconscious. EFT, emotional freedom technique, EMDR, and there's something called Psyche. So let me see if I wrote it. PSYCH -K. So all of those, right, work with your mindset. And then you want to do something also that works with your body. So really anything that has to do with movement. So yoga is one that a lot of people do. And even a lot of people that do yoga, they have said, you know, I felt, you know, a release. Like I felt like crying when I was in certain position. So that is an example of using movement through move energy and our emotion. obviously myofascial release, acupuncture, even getting a massage. Sometimes you might feel like, why do I feel like crying when she's pressing on this point? It's, you want to use movement to bring more conscious awareness as to what's stored in your body. Breath work is so, I mean, it's huge. Breath work, even just our breath we can release stuff, but it can also allow us to know how we're feeling. And yeah, I mean, those are different, I guess, body work techniques and movement that you can incorporate to energy. And qigong is another one, because it works with kind of manipulating the energy around you.
Right. Yeah, I know I have. So when I speak with clients and do trainings, and we talk about physical responses or reactions to money, in terms of avoidance. So, having a headache when looking at a checking account, or when the retirement statement comes in, just feeling nauseous and not being able to look at that. And I usually say, well, this is, again, it's kind of that fight or flight back from, when we had to worry about coming out the cave and maybe being eaten by a lion. Our brain doesn't know the difference. That today the fear is about money and relationships and job and everything else. So I said, you have to connect with that and see where, so the minute, because I said sometimes emotions are a good thing, right? And feelings, because that hones us in into something that's happening. And it said, if you can detect where in your body you're having these feelings, then you can start to say to yourself, oh, you know what, I get a headache when I'm looking at my checking account. Or so, all right, so I'm getting a headache, but I can say to myself, you know what, well, I'm having some fear or thoughts, but these can pass. And if I really tune into what I'm thinking, and then so the brain then allows you to kind of go to thinking about problem solving, right? As opposed to a reactionary mode, which is what causes the stress and anxiety. So I always, I'm asking, pinpoint where this is coming from, start thinking about it, because that allows you to start thinking about, how am I going to control this and solve this issue? And that will, in turn help you reduce some of your anxiety and stress.
And I think also working with the body is important, because we need to feel safe.
Yes.
Right. So when we go to a traumatic experience, we don't feel safe. So working with a body allows us to feel, safety in our body. And one of the things that I wanted to mention with money is that I have felt when I work, I'm going to say mainly with women, is either we don't feel worthy or deserving, comfortable. Like, even I know people who don't feel, it's easier for them to spend X amount of money on someone else, but when it comes to them, they feel, either guilty or shame. And it's important also to know that when it comes to money, right? To figure out why, why do I feel?
Yeah, well, we do. I think that's attributed to many women. And I consider that to be, one of those unconscious barriers or money blocks moving forward, because taking care of everybody else before you can take care, before you take care of yourself. And I see it all the time. It's not that women can't achieve their goals. It's they're too busy, or we're too busy taking care of everybody else before ourselves. And I think, that's the key, isn't it? It's like I shared in a post this past weekend. So we had Mother's Day weekend. I go with a couple of girlfriends every year. And it's like a little retreat, but there, we get to eat and drink, but we also go to classes that help us expand personally and meet other women. And it's so important for us to take time for us. And I met one lady, and she said that she actually, every Sunday, she said she takes 2 hours for herself to kind of, whether it's reading or I mean, we need to be exercising, I think, more than once a week if we're going to maintain some level of good health. But she was just saying, that specific, this 2 hours every Sunday is her time for her to take time for her. And I think, we get so busy, right, in this world, and even kind of the digital. I find I put my phone away, and I maybe looked at it once a day for the whole weekend, because again, it's busy time, even just being on social media, right? So I think it's so important for us to take some time for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is also a great example of healthy boundaries with ourselves.
Right.
It's not just with others, it's with ourselves. Like, okay, I'm gonna schedule, myself in also.
Right. So I can't believe, our time is coming to a close. It's like I could talk about this all day. I'm really, really intrigued with this. So we're going to have you come back so you can talk a little more. But where can our listeners find you?
Okay, so Instagram, my hashtag is Dr. Karina Dr. Karina M. I've changed it. I have changed it twice. So before it used to be _M, so now it's just M. And
Okay.
Facebook, Dr. Karina Monegro. And then my website is the same, my full name, drkarinamonegro.com.
Okay. And what I'll do is I'll make sure I put that information in the show notes, so our listeners, because I'm sure we've got people who'll want to ask you some additional questions. Yeah, but
things. A lot of stuff has to do with mental health, mind, body, heart connection.
Right. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today and share your knowledge and expertise. So that's greatly appreciated. And as mentioned earlier, May is Mental Health Month, and it's a great reminder for you to take a few small steps to help improve not only your financial health, which will help you make better money decisions, but as we know, body, mind, soul, they're all connected, and we need to make sure, as Dr. Karina is saying, that we have healthy boundaries. So one of the things that I would also like to share in celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month is our financial self-care guide on how healthy financial self-care habits can keep you feeling positive and encouraged. So I just want to say thank you again to our listeners for being here with us today, and look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, here's to your financial well-being. So take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for having me.